Schmidt, obviously, you know you're a success as a coach when most of the speculation is really whether or not you're going to stay for another 4-year World Cup cycle rather than what's going on the pitch. But Michael Corcoran visited Carton House during the week and sat down for a lengthy chat with the boss, and this is what he came back with.
Is it fair to say that this isn't just a normal November in terms of a November series, given the fact that you have 12 matches left before you play any match in the Rugby World Cup? I mean, the Rugby World Cup may be next season, but it's on a lot of people's mind. I mean, it's a huge 12 months ahead.
Yeah, it's always a really big 12 months, you know, and I think you cannot get too distracted by what's in still a relatively distant future. Don't look too far ahead, because right here, right now, we've got to be focused on what's happening, you know, in the immediate future.
Given that, do you think that Ireland are in a kind of slightly different position now? You've mentioned about 12 months being a long time. Different position now than, say, 12 months ago, where you were in, I don't want to say the chasing pack, but you're now in a situation because of a Grand Slam, because of a series win over Australia, in Australia. You're now one of the teams there to be hunted by the others.
We were still ranked in the top 4 this time last year, so, you know, as long as you're in that top 4, you've got a target on your back, and now maybe it is the top 2, but that could disappear very, very quickly, and you know, and it's only a number. You know, there's nothing tangible to hold on to from that. You know, what's tangible is a good player in front of you. What's tangible is an efficient line out against you. You know, we've got to take it bite-sized. And there are so many variables between this block and the next block, the Six Nations, where everything gets ramped up and everything becomes a little bit more immediate and relevant. You know, there's so many differences and so many variables between even now and then. Your personnel may change by up to 6 to 8 players. For this 4-week block, of which there are 3 weeks left, we're going to try to maximise our opportunity to work with the wider squad, the 42 selected players, and maximise what they can bring to the squad in this small bite-sized window. I think we're in a stronger place than we were 3 years ago, and you know, people talk about the depth built over the last 12 months. It certainly goes well beyond that 12 months. It has been three years in the building, but it's fickle. It's tenuous, and the vulnerability is always there that, you know, key players can still get injured. And, you know, people talk about, but there's depth now and you can replace like with like, but people can also be a little bit unrealistic about what is like for like, because players are described as world class because they'd probably make the world 15, but we haven't got 42 players in the world 15 because I'm not great at maths, but that doesn't fit in the first place, and there's a lot of other really good teams in the world who are contributing to that pool of players. So, you know, when you've got world class and you're really keen, that you bridge the gap as best you can.
I think undoubtedly we would agree on this. One player who is world class is Conor Murray. He's not in the squad. Could he feature at some stage during the course of the next couple of weeks? He's
a world-class player, he's a world-class character, and his work ethic has allowed him to get himself back into incredibly good shape. He's done a fair bit of training with us last week, passing sharp, his contact work was good, you know, his durability is back, and so he's not far away. You know, I wouldn't make any greater commitment than that, but he is close.
In terms of the 3 upcoming games, I mean, you've got, even we take them in order, you've got Argentina coming first, a team who, I'm going to use the word, but I don't mean it this way, they seem to kind of hibernate every so often after Rugby World Cup. They wake up, rub their eyes, and all of a sudden the World Cup is the following year, and we've seen that in the Rugby Championship this year.
Considering their summer form, losing 3 test matches at home, and then coming out and being really competitive on the road, and they're regathering their momentum. We feel capable that we can beat them. They certainly deserved the win they got over us in the World Cup. They played incredibly impressively. partly because we allowed them to, and partly because that's how good they are, and what you saw is what you get from them.
In terms of New Zealand, they're number one in the world. I mean, they're just constantly challenging the opposition and providing things that maybe we haven't seen before.
They're very selective about what they bring to a game, and then they have a skill and speed to play the game that, even if it's something somebody else has done, they just do it better. And that's the unfortunate thing for all their opponents, and it's one of the reasons they're number one. A lot of their players have played a lot of test matches for New Zealand, but even better, they've played a lot of test matches together. And so I think that real collective they bring, they work hard for each other. And so you meld all that into a black jersey that they take incredible pride in wearing, and you are up against it. They don't have to play to some stereotype. They'll play, and they'll be very pragmatic at times, the All Blacks. And I think one of the things is that people get carried away with this romantic notion of how the All Blacks play. Yes, they can play like that, but it's a danger to just anticipate them playing one way. I think it's really important that you have a good look at the All Blacks before you play them, so that you're not distracted by these notions that people have about the way they play. I think it's their collective that they have, and I think it's that ability to play whatever way is demanded to best get the result. And if that's pragmatic, if that's narrow, if that's in the air, or if that is with the expanse. And the problem you've got is it's a little bit like predicting the Dublin weather. You don't know what's coming, and what you currently have can be totally different in 5 minutes' time. 2013 hurt. They stayed in the game, and I still look back at that, and we made the error to give them the ball back. You've got to make sure that you keep playing, that you don't try to go into your shell. But just occasionally, they don't quite get there. I just get the sense they're going to be tuned in for this Northern Tour.
How important is that game against the USA, after you've played two Tier 1 nations, in terms of, I don't want to say the development of players, but allowing players or giving players the opportunity to play a test match who maybe don't have that huge degree of experience or exposure to international rugby?
Every test match is really, really important, because as you described earlier, we only have 12 before we do go to the World Cup, but we only have 12 in a year anyway, so you only actually get to say who you are maybe in an opportunity against a Tier 2 team 2 or 3 times in a season. The rest are all incredibly high pressure matches, and one of the dangers is that you take your foot off the throat. The USA, they beat Scotland in the summer. I think there's an incredible danger of slipping off. The most narrow loss we had last November was, the most narrow win we had could easily have been a loss against Fiji. We won by 3 points. We won against the Tier 1 team, South Africa, by over 30 points, and won by about 10 points against Argentina. That's the risk. You talk about offering opportunity, but there's a real responsibility as well, because it's a test match.
Yeah, it is